This is your friend, your hero, your My House Sports Gear sponsored athlete, Retromania Wrestling Superstar, or the Virgil, if you will, IWA Vintage Colonial Champion, Daredevil Dave Dahl, and this is the 3 Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. That's right, y'all should be calling me your Sherpa. Like 70 episodes in now, I think it is. I don't know, I've lost track after the first 400. But hey, y'all should be calling me your Sherpa. But like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And who's entering the ring today? Well, he comes to us from HWT, IWA Vintage Pro Wrestling. He comes to us from Outbreak, TCW, SICW, Dog, CZW, and SKPW. He is the man who is sponsored by My House Sports. He is also the man who, he got a win over me. But more importantly, he is the dangerous Daredevil Dave Dahl.
We're 1-1. You eliminated me in the 4-way, and then I just beat you last weekend. So
yeah, it's
we get to do it again.
Yeah, we get to do it again. We get to run it back.
April 30th.
Yeah,
Deffert, New Jersey. HWT. Be there.
Hell yeah. It's weird because the day that we're recording this was the day that the card came out too.
Yeah, the flyer came out today. I'm like, well, ain't that just freaking perfect?
Right. Like, and no, we won't be attaching it to this episode, so you guys are just gonna check out our promos.
Yeah, that should be fun.
But yo, one man, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yo, so we met a couple times. We ran into each other at HWT, ran into each other at IWA Vintage Pro. We were supposed to work a couple other times too, but neither here nor there. Those things it just kind of happened. But no, man, like I get to meet with you and sit down and talk with you, and it was definitely like a lot of fun to kind of like pick your brain a little bit and just kind of learn more about like this awesome sport that we live in called pro wrestling. And I was just curious, man, like about having you come on the show, and I was very grateful that you were able to come on.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. I love doing these kinds of things. My in-ring character is the complete and utter opposite version of the real me, or as I like to say, like anything that happens to me in the real world that I find, a-hole-ish or, D-word-ish and all that. I'm censoring myself. I don't know if you curse on here or not, so
we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Oh, well then fuck it. So like anything that like is dicky, or if like you're having trouble at your shoot job or whatever, like I try to turn that around and I use that as my heel character. It's me being the evil version of me, but it's like times 375. Like I will never be as evil as I am in the ring in real life. I don't think I could. Like you really, really, really have to do something terrible to me for me to act like I do in real life.
It is fun though, because like I love like you're very like your interest and everything is very like it's about me. Like when we had
that was the first time I did that.
Yeah, the flag bearers.
That was so I've had those flags since a little bit after I got my sponsorship with My House. I was like, yo, can I get these flags made up? Can I use your logo for this? They're like, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, sweet. And I've had that idea of like the college flag runners making my own curtain in the ring. And since that IWA Vintage, we didn't have a curtain, I'm like, I'm making myself a damn curtain. Like everybody always calls me the biggest billboard for myself, because once like I get changed or like I start getting in that mode, I'm in my tracksuit. I'm in something. I mean, I can't walk into a building without somebody knowing it's me, because my gear bag is customized with my logo and everything on it. So like there's no sneaking me into the building unless I have a different bag. So, but I mean, someone has to be their own biggest fan, and why not me be mine? Like,
well, that's what you're supposed to do though. Like, and I know like a lot of people like it's kind of like a double-edged sword, but it's the same token. Like you have to be your biggest fan in this business, because if you're not, like no one else is going to be your biggest fan. Like you like, and what I've learned in the short time that I've been in the sport, right, in this business, whatever you want to call it, that's theatrical performance, whatever you want to call it, like I've learned that you have to be your number one cheerleader, and you have to put it out there that you are your number one cheerleader. Otherwise, people aren't really going to take you seriously.
The best way I can put it is if you don't care about you, they won't care about you.
Facts.
You know, like um at at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, dog for short. Like a lot of people show up there just to see me get booed and beat up, and like 99% of the time there I'm losing, which I'm fine with. Like by all means, let me put somebody over. I'm cool with that. Like when we did the four-way, my whole goal was to get you to look like a bigger star because you're the newer one. You're the newer one. Like you needed that. I got all my shine and my time during my entrance, during my promo. In our little bit of wrestling that we did, or the little bit of offense that I got in that match. I didn't need a whole hell of a lot because most of the people there already knew me. You, on the other hand, is still a little relatively unknown in some of these places. So it's like, well, he goes with me. He gets that notoriety because these guys already know me, and then he eliminates me. Oh, like he could be somebody. And then that led into you getting those spots with Josh and or Violence, sorry, and Patch that made you look even bigger of a threat, which made you eliminate me mean even more. And that was my whole goal with that match. Like,
Yeah,
and
and it
plus, I
was
needed to also make you look like a viable contender, knowing full well we were introducing this title at IWA Vintage, and it was the first title defense. It was the only title match on the card. Like, if you're a nobody, why am I facing you for the title? I needed you to have meaning. So it was like it was a hidden agenda with a positive agenda at the same time.
right, and it was something that like I've been very fortunate, like, and especially being with someone like like Violence as well as Patch and yourself, is that like I knew and I said it like numerous times that day. I was like, I know my role here. Like I'm the green guy. I'm just gonna listen to everybody else talk. But you were like very avid. You're very avid, right? Like, no, listen, I don't need this. I know where I'm gonna be at in this match. I'm gonna be the first one eliminated. Let it be him. He's the guy, he needs to kind of shine. Like it was cool to like see someone like advocate for me, even though like I didn't have to be in that. Like I knew kind of what they wanted, like HWT wanted, but you had like such a broader picture for everything, and I saw like the small portion, but then you opened up the rest of like the book, and I was like, wow, it's like I didn't even think about it in aspects of like we're wrestling here. You know, there's a possibility we can be over at this place. We want the audience to have like that believability that at any time I'm gonna lose to this guy. And if I beat him in the opening part, it does not make any sense for anything else.
Yeah, I like when the issue is too is like I didn't want to have Violence eliminate me because we have a history. We were one of three surviving members from the school that we went to. Like, and he was there when I was training there. He was still coming in and helping with us and everything. So me and Violence have a history. We faced each other before at like dojo wars and stuff. But like me and Patch have faced each other numerous times. And the next week, actually, after that match, I was supposed to face Patch 1-on-1. And I was like, well, I can't have too much interaction with him because if I do, we're only like 3, 4 towns over. It's not going to be an attraction no more because he's already beaten me up here. So
Right.
why would they want to see him beat me up again? But then again, I let him get that one chop in or that little bit that we did, like the goofy stuff, which that running around the ring was just all on the fly, which he made me fall through the curtain. And I was actually crushed Violence's kid because I fell because he threw the chair at me. But like, that's why when we went into the finish of our part, I was like, have him hit me. One, that gives us our little interaction that doesn't take away from our match that was supposed to be the following week, which is now the week after IWA Vintage in April. Um, so like, and then that leads into you technically not getting the complete win on your own. So even though you eliminated me, you had help.
Right.
Even if it was just one chop, you still had help. So if we dug into that more for the IWA Vintage match, like I sent the clip of the spine buster he gave me. I sent it to Craig. I'm like, use this. Like, in your promos because I let Craig do all the promos for it because he's my manager. He's supposed to be my voice. Even though I redo the introduction because no one's going to do my own introduction better than I am. I think some announcers get mad at me when I tell them that. Like, I remember in the chat with HWT, I'm like, hey, you don't need my stuff. I'm going to do it myself. And then he was like, what? I'm like, oh, like, I'm going to cut you off. Like, you don't really need to know it. Like, I'll cut you off. Like, I'll do it myself because it's so long. It's so intricate. I have a certain way I like to deliver it. Like, let me do it myself. But yeah, you needed that match more than any of us. I mean, yeah, it was to crown the champion, but you're the newest guy in the championship match. So for you to look like a bigger star and then having it come down the patch and violence, is all right. But you went out looking strong because it took both of them to eliminate you,
Right.
not just one. So it worked out in everybody's favor. Everything went off perfectly fine. I made a kid cry, which is awesome and not awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
I rectified the situation afterward.
That poor kid, man.
Oh,
Yeah, you
geez.
did. You did
Like I
rectify.
start laying into him when I'm cutting the promo, and the dad's like, "That's enough, that's enough." I'm like, hooked, line and sinker. You're gonna hate me for the rest of your life until I make it up to your kid after the match is over.
Well, I just remember that little kid. Like, I remember like seeing him crying and stuff, and then I got in the ring, and then once like I went to eliminate you, right? I remember looking at the kid, and I like said, like, "Goodbye, Dave Doll," and I saw the kid's face like light up,
Yeah,
and go for the pin, and I was
but
like,
that's
"God,
moments.
that's good.
That's the thing.
That's good heat."
Wrestling is moments. You gave that kid a moment. I gave him a shitty moment. And then you turn around and gave him that moment of satisfaction because he got to see the guy he hated the most in the match get beat. And that's what my job is. Like, if I'm losing, my job is to make you want to see me get beat. If I'm winning, my job is to make you want to come back to see me get beat eventually.
Right.
Like, I mean, I faced Adonis Valerio numerous times, that dog, and I challenged a biker gang. Like his stepdad's in a biker club, and I challenged him, and I made fun of him, and I'm an idiot. Like, I don't care. Like, I've
It's
picked on a kid
interesting.
that I've known for forever who gets so involved in this. He's known me since he was like a baby. Like, he's basically part of my family almost because like my best friend's part of his, and I'm like, he forgets that I'm the guy that he's known since he was a little kid, and he starts booing me and hating me and wanting to beat me up. And then as soon as the show's over, he's hugging me. Like, I'm like, dude, how do you do it? Like, you're a better performer than we are right now.
It's funny though, man, because you talk about moments and stuff like that, right? Like whether like you make kids cry, you make them feel better. Because like even as wrestlers, like we're giving each other moments like all the time, right? Whether it's like a move or I don't know, maybe you tell the referee to hold your cock as you hand him a rubber chicken.
Oh, you son of a.
As you hear someone call you an asshole from the ground. Like that was my pop for tonight. I would tell
If you ever make me break character again and start laughing in the middle of a match, I'm gonna slap you.
yeah.
Like, you're like, oh my god. I'm like, you asshole. As I'm like trying to sell and I'm laughing. Uh,
That was great though, because I was
it
like,
was.
a lot of stuff that was going on in that match too. A lot of people won't realize, but it was kind of called on the fly, and we were just having fun. But yeah, when I had that moment happen, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally gonna run with this right now.
So for the longest time, I can remember almost every spot of every match I had up until like a couple years ago. And eventually I realized I don't need to remember every spot of every match I've ever done. I need to remember the big moments, the moments that I had the reactions, because those moments are the ones that the crowd's gonna remember. So like on uh on Saturday when we
Right,
wrestled, that low blow when you're on the corner, people are gonna remember that. So next month, April 16th, when we're back at IWA Vintage, whoever I'm facing, if they get into the same position, the people are gonna warn the good guy. Oh, he's gonna you know what I mean? Like those moments, even the funny moments, like I'm a heel. I'm usually super serious, but I'll let a funny little thing out, or I'll do something stupid. Like I don't care about throwing a little bit of funny haha in there. We did the grenade spot, or your gun spot, a little different just to tune it down a little bit. But the grenade, we had the ref sell like it blew up. We had Craig sell like it blew up. It drilled me with a damn low DDT, which was beautiful. Like it's stuff like that. People remember. Oh, he threw the grenade up and hit that DDT. Like awesome. But, yeah.
Yeah, that was something else too. Like it's funny because like I know, and we talk about like we can talk about with character work, right? Like the idea that we're creating these larger than life personas and stuff like that, and you have to remember that. But then like every crowd is different, right? So like the gun sequence that you may see at like HWF may not be the same one that you'll see at IWA, and it's just because different people, different crowds like
Different
different things.
promoters.
Yeah, but it was something like when we were talking about it on the fly, and you were talking about how like we'll do the gun spot, but then like full transfer, we were getting vetoed, and we changed it. But as we changed it, we made it more effective because it was like for people who saw me at IWA last time when they saw Prince sell it. Obviously, when it came out this time, then there was like shots followed up by it, which was the first time that I was able to do something like that. And then I had to tell myself afterwards, I was like, I really have to slow down with that because we got to make things register.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I meant to tell you that after the match because you pulled the gun to throw me
mhm,
off, and you were supposed to wait for me to say, "Oh, that's just your fingers," and then
right.
give me the dead arm, dead arm, dead arm. But you went. I'm like, oh
Yep.
shit, okay.
Yep.
Like
It went
you
way
gotta
too
let that
fast.
register to where if you throw that punch, now I'm giving you insider information on the air. Sorry, but when you throw that first, after I say that, and you throw that first punch, you gotta let me go. Oh, you gave me a dead arm or something, and then you hit with the other one. Oh, now both, you had to give me a little bit of time to sell it for you because
Yeah.
if you're hitting me and giving me dead arms, I'm not gonna have any reaction time or any kind of reaction to try to get you back. I have no arms. I can't. I'm not gonna throw a kick that high with no arms. I'm gonna fall on my face. Like
And
so.
that was something like I went back and I was like replaying a match in my mind, and I just remember like that spot in particular because it was something I never. And the funny thing is the first time that I ever hit the gun spot right at HWF, I rushed through it, right.
Mhm.
So now I'm like, all right, the second time that we're gonna go do this, it's gonna be more slow. It's gonna be more methodical. People will
Yeah.
see it. They'll know what happened, and then they're gonna be able to register. But it was something that I and sometimes when I introduce something new, like I get so hyped about it, but I forget that I have to like hone it
Like
down because
the
yeah,
grenade part of it, you did nice and slow. Like pulled it out, was like grenade, and then threw it up, and then hit the DDT. Like that was good. But the beginning part to get me into that position was just like
yep,
I was like, who saw that? Who's
right.
gonna remember that you gave me two dead arms, kicked me in the legs to get me down, and then threw a grenade up, whether it's a pretend or not. But like, I do not condone real live grenade throwing in professional wrestling matches. This is a public service announcement from your friendly neighborhood Daredevil.
Oh, we just borrowing sticks now? Is that what we're doing?
Hi, Marvel. oh
Oh no, because I always say like it's your friendly neighborhood red dog.
well, I mean, you gotta get a little bit bigger to be Clifford.
I'm tall for my height, bro. Like I'm well where I'm supposed to be. But yo, I just need to know. It's funny because I love asking this question to a lot of different people. So, what's like one of the worst bumps you've ever taken?
In my early career, I had never taken a superplex, and the guy I was wrestling loved the guy to death. I'm not gonna put his name out there because one, I don't want him to think I'm shitting on him, and two, I don't want people to think I'm shitting on him. He gave me a superplex, and we didn't quite get all the way over, and he didn't quite take the full back bump off the middle rope. So he kind of like it kind of looked like he stepped down and then fell as we went. So I landed a little high and tight, but nothing like painful. I did take a clothesline on the outside from Gene Snitsky on into my early career. I did not enjoy that. And plus, Gene is freaking huge. And I had showed him pictures from it at Legends of Hamburg last year when I was there because he was like I was there just trying to get my name out there at one of my buddy's tables, and he was like across from us. So I was talking to him. I was like, "Yeah, we wrestled very early in my career. I'm like, it would be much better now if we ever got to do it again. We had like 3 minutes. Like legitimately, he had to pin me at 1 second left because that was the storyline, and this was for WXWC4. And I had fun. I mean, I'm wrestling Gene Snitsky. I wrestled them on TV. I watched them on TV. So like this was fun, but like we had to be so perfect with everything that at one he got the three because he had to get the three. He had to beat me to get a title shot. That was the storyline.
Mm.
So that close on the outside is not a fun bump. I took some other ones at like Dojo Wars that weren't quite fun because I went into Dojo Wars as the guy that's been around for a little while. I was doing it really just to keep getting in ring reps every week, get better ring shape, match shape, I should say, because you can be in ring shape, you can be in match shape. There's levels. So you're wrestling some of the green students, and some of their moves aren't as crisp, and it's not quite fun taking some of their bumps, but you do it because you're trying to help them. And yeah, I mean, I really haven't taken anything too bad. I know in training, I think I gave myself a concussion once. When I first was training, we were doing up and overs, and they wanted me to do an up and over into a back roll, like right into a back roll. But me being an idiot, I didn't like hit my feet first. I swung my feet under, and I just smacked the back of my head. Hell, even the first bump of our match, the first shoulder tackle bump, I hit my head for some reason. I don't even know why. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I didn't hurt myself, but I'm like, why did my head hit? Like I never hit my head on bumps.
Yeah, we
So
were talking about that like right at the end. I was
I'm like,
like,
dude, I hit my head. And you're like, what? I'm like, I don't know. That first bump, I hit my head. You're
I
like,
was
yeah, I'm
like,
like, yeah, I'm good.
I was like, okay.
But yeah,
So aside from that, man, like,
no,
so
that
you,
wasn't your fault. It was just me. I either didn't tuck my chin or I have a habit. I don't know if it threw you off. I like to snap really hard on shoulder tackles.
mm,
Like I'm a big component of the harder you throw yourself at the ring, the softer the bump is. It's the same way, like the harder you throw yourself into the ropes, the less running you have to do.
right,
Like I can run the ropes longer than I could run on a treadmill right now, most likely. Like that's the sad thing. Like I won't get blown up running the ropes as much as I will like doing a sprint on a treadmill
right,
because I attack the ropes. I use the momentum of the ropes to bounce me around. So when I take a shoulder tackle, I have a habit of putting my other hand here and pushing off of you. And like most people won't even notice that I do it because like they don't feel it because it's so quick and such and like you're already pulling back after hitting me that you won't even realize you're getting jerked a little bit more and I snap and I hit that ring as hard as I can. It's a little I don't know how I started developing doing it. I just realized I kind of started doing it like probably after I started doing shows. Like I
mm,
never did it in training or anything like that, but then once I got into shows, I guess I just wanted the loudest, the biggest bumps on everything. So like that's how I would snap down harder on shoulder tackles. Clotheslines you can't do it, but like stuff like that. And like your flying shoulder tackle, you came up and I pushed off your shoulder and I hit that ring hard because I needed to get the point across that you just destroyed me with the shoulder tackle and made me powder. So
yeah, no doubt. And so it's funny, man, because like after our match, right, and I'm gonna ask you this question. So Nick would not leave me alone. He's like, we gotta go to Wendy's. But I'm kind of curious, what's your post match snack or post match meal that you go to after?
it depends on who I'm with. If I'm by myself, I usually just stop at Wawa, pick up a sandwich. Because I come home, I get a shower, and then I chill for like an hour or two. No matter what time it is, I get home. Like I need that hour or two to chill. After I get home, I'll eat eat my sandwich. If I'm with a buddy of mine, a lot of times we wind up at like a chicken and pizza if they're still open. Like if we're wrestling locally. Um, but yeah, most of the time it's just a quick stop at Wawa. I'm usually in a hurry to get home. Like once the show's over, everybody's kind of leaving. Like I'm ready to go. So I just want to get home. Like I have my little girl, I know, and I'm always the last one to sleep, first one up in my house. So I know, like, no matter what, 7 o'clock, my dog's going to be crying to go out, and I'm getting woken up to be the one to let her out. Whether I'm going to sleep at 3, 4, 5, 6, like I could go to bed at 7, I'll still get woken up at 7 to let this dog out. Like, So, I try to get home as quickly as possible and just chill out. Like, I'd rather eat at home than grab a snack and eat in the car because, one, I'm usually driving and it sucks trying to eat while driving. And I can't really eat a Wawa sandwich. It's not great driving. And if you do,
Yeah.
you have to get it with no lettuce, no onions, no nothing on it. And it's just meat and bread and cheese, which
Yeah,
isn't
I'm
always
very
necessarily
boring.
bad.
Yeah, I'm very boring when I like stop because like Nick was like very adamant about me pulling over and like eating while we stop, and I was like, bro, like I just want to get home. He's like, yeah, but we got to eat safely so we can't get home. I was like, I can eat on the run. I'm good. And then I was like, fine, we'll pull over because you keep talking about it. So
Yeah. And sometimes you just want that extra little camaraderie with the boys. Like Nick's been injured. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So like, who know? I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, but like, it might have been one of his first trips. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Actually, now I think about it, I if not his first, it's like his second trip because like
So he just
I
wants
train
to
with
hang with
him.
the boys,
Yeah,
like, and that may
he's
be
trying to
kind of thing.
milk that
He
time.
misses it.
Yeah,
Like he
except for the
said when
fact
we
that
were all talking in the beginning, he's like, I met this dude like twice, and he's just one of those dudes that you can't help but like. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's
yeah,
actually pretty
putting his
nice.
business out there. Putting his business. You know what? If that was the case, man, 5 minutes after we started heading home, he wouldn't have gone to sleep. That's the problem. When I hang out with the boys, you passed out next to me, Nick. That's not cool.
Well, I mean, he is a vet compared to you, so he gets to sleep, you get to drive.
No, co-passenger. You're in the car, dog.
Didn't you have Jason with you too?
Yeah, he was with me too. He's
So
in the
you had
back.
you had another co-passenger. So as long as one of them stay up, you're good.
No, but the best was is like he was so Nick had his arm on my seat like as I'm driving, and then also I'm like I just feel like a hand drop, and he was just like, "What's up, buddy?" I was like, "Don't act like you weren't sleeping, man. Get away from me."
Uh,
I put his I don't I'll put his business out there.
we
Yo,
love you, Nick.
so I'm kind of curious, man. Like, what's been like one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn in the sport?
I've so in my day-to-day life, if I'm questioned, I tend to question back. Like, shoot, I'm a cook, right? And I had a boss who recently just stepped down. We got a new one, and she questioned some of the things that like I was doing when I was cooking for the residents I cook for. And I'm like, why are you questioning? Like, I started questioning back. It's just me. But if I'm in the locker room and someone questions me on why are you gonna do this, I don't question them back, and I just listen to what their advice is. Like that was one of the things. Like, shut your mouth, keep your eyes and your ears open, don't talk back. Especially like I've had people like Shane Douglas like tell me stuff, and like I'm not going to question Shane Douglas. I'm not going to question Barbarian. I had Kevin Nash at a seminar make fun of my boots. I'm not going to question him on why he's making fun of my boots. Like I'm not going to do that. And like I don't know why it's so different and why I separate things like that, but I guess it's a good thing that I have been able to do that because there's been kids that I've seen that question every time someone talks to them, and there was one that like I don't remember his name. I don't necessarily remember where we're at or who was talking to him, and I was like, dude, just shut up, like just be quiet, like stop answering back. The question's rhetorical. He's going to tell you why he's asking you this question. Like a vet's not going to ask you a question without you know giving you the answer unless he really really wants you to answer, but they'll ask you in a certain way. Like at one point I had Sean Donovan ask me, why are you called the Daredevil? When you go out there, I don't see anything daring about you. I don't see you doing any like high flips or back flips and all that. And I had to stop and think. I'm like, well, what does make me a Daredevil? And then I remember I'm like, well, I didn't choose the name for me to be Evil Knievel. At the time, Daredevil season 2, when I started using it, was coming out. You put hashtag Daredevil with everything, you're now tied into with everybody's talking about the TV show. And then it sounded good with my name. And I'm like, I can get logos made up. That's good marketing. Like, I start of the business part of it more than the wrestling part of it. And then I started doing like a moonsault to kind of put something out there. But I haven't hit one. I haven't done one of those since I hurt my knees doing it, wrestling a green kid in a blindfold match. Long story. Makes no sense, and I'm an idiot for it. We'll get into it later. But like, my thing was never, oh, I want to be Evil Knievel. My thing was, I want to be an ass kicker like Daredevil is. You know what I mean? That was
Yep.
my version of Daredevil. But my vision of Daredevil is a different vision of somebody else's, which may be a different vision of somebody else's. Everybody has their own flavor of ice cream, but I may not like it and they may not like mine, which is perfectly fine. Like, I even had DJ Hyde say the same thing basically. He's like, I love the gear, I love the look of it, but I don't understand the Daredevil part. And I'm like, well, you also have me as a baby face, so you're not gonna understand the Daredevil part, because for me, Daredevil is more of a heel, but that's my vision of it. Can I do it as a babyface? Yeah, that's when I bust out the moonsault. That's when I do a one-handed cartwheel. Like, that's when I do the flying head scissors. I don't do that as a heel. The only time I do the one-handed cartwheel as a heel is if I'm letting the babyface out wrestle me and doing like the forward roll, the kip ups and stuff like that. I'll bust out the one-handed cartwheel to kind of confuse them, pull their hair, or poke them in the eye, and take over from there and stop the chain wrestling completely. But a lot of times I don't really need to do that because not everybody does a whole lot of chain wrestling anymore.
I like that aspect, and you kind of you kind of hit on something that I've heard numerous people talk about. And Charlie Haas said the same thing, right? That as a face, you should have XYZ moves, and as a heel, you should have XYZ moves, and then somewhere in the middle, you should be able to do moves that are going to be both heel and face. But he's like, you should definitely want two different move sets for two different sides. And you brought up a great point that, like you said, you do a moonsault or you do a one hand cartwheel if you're a face, but as a heel, you don't do any of that. So
Well,
I find
like
that
I
to be
said, there's certain
interesting.
aspects that I can do some of it. Like, if I do the moonsault as a heel, freaking 99.999999 repeating, I'm missing. It's a heel. Even as a baby face, like with my, you know, spare tire on my belly, if I hit somebody with a moonsault, I kill him. So, like, most likely, if I'm going for a moonsault, I'm missing. And it's setting up for the heel to either take over or for me to catch him with something as I'm selling, or you know what I mean. It's setting up for something else. I use the moonsault more as a setup. Like, as a heel, it's for me to set up the face's comeback. As a baby face, it's for me to set up the heel getting more heat, or catching them with a falsie or something. It's a way to injure myself so that they don't necessarily have to pick me up or body slam me, or I have to take an unnecessary big high back bump or something like that. I much rather fall on my stomach on my own fruition than I have to take some crazy ass move to try to put me down. But like, and then same thing with like my elbow drop, my middle rope elbow that I called "Not Your Grandma's Elbow Drop." I have a tattoo for my grandma on the arm I usually throw it with, so that's why it's called that. And half the time I miss it. Like, I hit it on you because it made sense for me to hit it on you.
Right.
I had to get that frustrating, like, I just I hit you with my combination that I always hit almost everybody with. You kicked out. I hit you with the elbow that's like the sign right before the end, and you kicked out. And now I'm getting mad at the ref. I hit you with like two of my biggest things, and you kicked out. Like, that's why I like you in the middle rope elbow. I mean, can I do it from the top? Of course. I have a beautiful elbow from the top. Has anybody ever seen me do it off the top rope? No. Because if I did it off the top rope, it's a finish. And if you kick out of it, I ruin that move, I think. I mean, plenty
Yeah.
of people do it from the top rope and people kick out. But for me, in my heart, if I hit that elbow off the top rope and you kick out, I destroy that elbow in the meaning of it. So,
No, and I understand. That's a good point that a lot of people like some moves are just meant to be cherished, right? Like when you look at someone like uh Randy Savage, like Macho Man, like hitting the top rope. Like you think about those things, but then you see people like they'll do throwbacks, right? And there's only one person I could think of that was like hitting the elbow drop that people weren't really kicking out of. But you think about like everybody else who's have done elbow drops and like just missed them, right? Except Kyrie Sane, who like God forbid, man, it feels like she throws all of her body weight into her elbow drop,
She's
which
little.
in
She has to.
yeah, but she makes it work, right? And no one kicks out of her elbow drop, like, and I think that's very, that's very cool that she's like, this is my finisher, this is what it's gonna be, and she just rocks with it.
Well, it's the same reason why like I won't hit by like pump handle, brainbuster, Death Valley Driver, whichever way you want to call it, because it looks like both. I won't. I won't hit that and want somebody to kick out of it if I'm established as a finisher. I rather them counter out, hit me with something, and then get them with it later as the finish, than hit my finish, have them kick out, and have him hit another one. Like this isn't WWE 2K22. Like I shouldn't have to hit you with 3 finishes to finish you off, unless that's the story we're telling. You know what I
Right.
mean? But then again, I'm not going to hit you with my main finish to do that. Like if I'm going to do that, I'm going to hit you with the elbow, have you kick out. All right, I'm going to hit you with the DDT I used to use as a finish, have you kick out. Then I'm going to hit you with my finish to drive you away. Like, you know what I mean? That's why we have signature moves. Those should be the moves that get kicked out, where your finish should never, unless it needs to be for the story. It's the same reason like I would not. Would I do a death match? Yes. Would I do it just for the sakes of doing it or for a quick payday? No. If it was a nice build, a nice story that went on for a few months, sure. But I'm not just gonna go, hey, I want to come bleed. Like, no, like, and guys that do it, great. Like, it's an art form. It really is. When it's done right, it's an art form, and I have all the respect in the world for those guys. But I rather see it be a means to an end
Yeah.
versus just, oh, these two guys are gonna do a death match, unless it's a tournament. Like that makes sense. You're doing a deathmatch tournament. It's the whole gimmick. But like, I'm not. For me personally, I'm not just gonna throw myself into that. Some people do it for notoriety and try to get their name out there. Great. But for me, I'd rather have the story build, because then when you do that death match, the notoriety is gonna be tenfold. At the end of the storyline, because it's the period. Like it's the end of the sentence. Story's done. You know, I died or the other person died. It took us getting so mad at each other that we had to damn near kill each other to beat each other. Like that's the
No.
way I look at it.
Yeah. No. I like the aspect of and I love that storytelling of like, hey, like this is where we started, and like this is where it had like if we're having a blow off match, we have to have that blow off match. Like, it's not like I think about it in the sense of like it's very weird to see like in WWE, right? Like where, and I only put this out there. Don't worry, guys. Like I'll get back to it. But when you see the first time like a baby face and a heel meet, they're like, hey, heels doing heel things, baby face, hey, getting hype with the crowd. But when they get into like that blood feud, it's been like the third match, and they're getting to that real blood feud. The baby face doesn't come out and cheer with the kids. He just goes right to the ring because he's like, yo, we're in a fight, and I'm looking to whoop this dude's ass. And I like that aspect of like storytelling. So when you do something like you want to have like that death match kind of scene, like that has to be like hey, that's it. This match, after this match, you're not gonna see this again, at least not right away. You're not gonna see this for probably a couple years, because like this is how this match is going to end.
Well, that's why the Gage Jericho death match worked so well, because although the storyline wasn't with Gage, it was with MJF. It was another part of the story that wasn't supposed to, he wasn't supposed to get past that. You know what I mean? Like they made you believe he wasn't supposed to get past that, but he did. Although it wasn't the end of the sentence, it still made sense to have it where it was. And I thought that was an excellent thing to do. So maybe the pizza cutter though at a pizza commercial wasn't so bad, but you know, happenstance.
That was perfect product placement. I don't care what anybody got to say about it.
But it's also like people were complaining because at that time Nick dropped the GCW title to Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, GCW knew Gage was going into this match with Jericho on national television. You have Gage, your champion, your world champion, going against Chris Jericho, on national television and your world champion loses, your world championship drops in prestige.
Yep.
You have someone else take it off of them for a little bit. Like I honestly thought the next GCW show, Nick was going to get back because that would have made sense too. But you take it off of him, now he doesn't have that. So now you're not bringing down your world title. Like that was smart booking, honestly. So like, if I'm wrestling at Dog, I'm not gonna, and they want me to defend the title, like I either have to go over or it has to be some kind of schmaz. If I'm defending IWA's Colonial title, like I stuff like that has to happen. It's one of the reasons why you don't see a whole lot of indie companies having other companies' titles defended, because it's almost a dead giveaway that either something's going to happen, or it's a DQ count out, whatever, or the title holder's going to win. Or you do like the whole, oh, he got pinned but his foot was on the ropes, reverse the decision, restart the match. It's always something.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because like some shows become predictable because you see those kind of things happen, and that's where like it comes to like the two performers like in the ring to tell that story. Like, no, like the champion is very much in danger of losing this title, and that you got to do whatever you got to do to get back into it.
That's why, again, we go back to that 4-way. That's why I had you eliminate me. Because again, like if the same crowd, part of that same crowd showed up at IWA Vintage, they're gonna think, oh well, he's got this in the bag. He's really gonna get it. And then when it doesn't go that way, they're gonna be like, oh, like I hate this guy. I want to see him lose it. Like I'm coming back next month.
Right. It makes total sense. I'm kind of curious though, man. Like, what kind of advice would you give to like up and coming wrestlers?
I'm a big believer on doing any seminars you can. Seminars, if it's a company that has a school and they're doing a class before a seminar or before a show, ask to drop in on the class and participate. I did that with PPW. They were having a Disco Inferno and a Simon Gotch or Simon Grimm, whichever you want to call them, seminars, and they were doing a training class beforehand. I live 2.5 hours away. I got up at like 6 a.m. I drove over there, got there in time for their class, did their class, then did the disco seminar, then did the Simon Grimm seminar. And it was all an attempt to try to earn a spot on the show. I didn't get the diddly squat, and that happens. But you got to be willing to do that. And obviously the seminars cost a little bit of money, but like they're worth it, because sometimes these guys are gonna have different ways of teaching you something that you may already know, but they have just that little bit that you don't, that you can change and adapt to or make it your own. Like I've probably learned the most doing seminars than I have in a match or have at like going to constant school training, or you know what I mean? Like, because you're getting this tutelage from guys that have been there. Like I've done seminars with QT Marshall, Simon Gotch, Disco Inferno, Juventud Guerrero, Jerry Lynn, Kevin Nash, Val Venus, like D Malenko, and that was just a talking one. Like sometimes just the talking ones are even better. I really think the more you put in and the more learning situations you put yourself in is you're always gonna get something from it. And you may not think it right away, but then as soon as you might be in a situation when you're calling a match, and you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. This makes sense now. So it's definitely worth it to do seminars. And as always, like if somebody that's been around or in longer than you, shut up, listen to them. You don't necessarily have to do what they say, but it's always good to listen because again, it might click in your head later. So
No, definitely. Well, I mean, you've been around for a long time, man. So I'm very curious. I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
one do and one don't. One don't have an ego. There's a couple people I've known for a while that again, I'm not gonna say names or point out what locker room I was in or whatever, but they seem to develop this I'm better than everybody here at Ego or better than certain people here at Ego. That's not what we're here for. Like your ego, check that shit at the door because you know what? Everybody has their place on the show. Like if you're not taking that on the roller coaster, that crowd on the roller coaster, the show's gonna be the shits. No one wants the show to be the shits because then everybody on the show is gonna be considered the shits. So don't have that ego. Like no one's better than anybody. We're all on the same level. Like I don't care what company you might have made an appearance for on their YouTube show or their, syndicate television show or whatever. Like you're in that locker room to put on a show for the people that are there right now. You're not in that locker room for the people that watched you on YouTube 3 weeks ago, 4 months ago. You know what I mean? Like everything gets uploaded on YouTube now anyway, so we're all on YouTube. Like it's really not that big of a deal to be on YouTube. I mean, yeah, it has that 3 little letters before it and a word, but it was just on YouTube. So yeah, the ego for me is one of the really big don'ts. Like I've always been the same guy. I always go in the locker room. I joke around. I play around. I have fun. I try to help the promoters, and I try to be a leader in there too. And like people, a lot of the companies I work for, people come to me like I'm the one in charge, and I'm like, I don't know, like you're talking to the wrong dude. Nah, I'm just here doing my job. Dues is be friendly, have fun. We're there to have fun, joke around, play around. There's a time, like in real life, there's a time to be serious. There's a time that you can just be a kid, and we're all really just giant kids living out our dreams. Like, there was one company that always said, we're going out there and play fighting in our underwear. So,
Yo, definitely, man. I like it. Hey, so those are like all pretty much like my heavy hitting questions. So we got to jump into the second best segment of this podcast. And people are like, well, what's the first? It's the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find every Sunday on our debate show. Okay. But this is the 3 count podcast, 10 count questions. And Mr. Dave, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
So if I said, that's my answer?
That's your answer. Yeah.
Or make like a cat sound? Yeah. Like,
that's your answer.
I'm scared.
Yeah, so I'm going to put on an imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
The Crow.
Sonic or Mario?
Sonic.
Favorite color?
Orange. And black.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation all the way.
Favorite submission?
This weird ass submission that I learned from Mr. What's his name? He's an iguana from Mexico. He taught me this crazy ass submission, and I was loving using it for a while. I forget the name of it right now, though.
Night owl or early bird?
Both.
Okay. Favorite podcast?
3 count.
Right? Like we don't have it marketed everywhere. So nominate one person that you want to see on this show.
Myself.
Bet.
I'm a walking billboard for myself. Because so who else am I gonna put over? Now, get a promoter on.
Okay.
That'd be a way to go. Go with a promoter because they always say don't become a promoter, but you're not gonna learn that aspect or get the insides of that without having a promoter on. So.
Bet. And then last but not least, my favorite question I ask every single person that comes on this podcast: favorite curse word?
Fuck. Sometimes it's just good to scream the F word. Like that's just for leaving. Have you ever just like walked outside like dead ass quiet in the field and just go fuck? Like
yes, I
that's
have.
nice. Or like if you're working in a restaurant or whatever, you walk into the walk-in and just scream it so no one can hear you. Like it's for leaving.
Or you do like the silent one, like no one else can hear you, but you know what you're saying. You're just like,
oh yeah, you just yeah. You look
so
like a
angry.
damn mind, like constipated mind. Yeah,
you're like like when you were a kid and used to get in trouble and you just run in your room, but you're like screaming, but you're not really screaming because you don't want your parents to know that you're screaming.
Bury your face in the pillow. I think actually. So when I was younger, my brother used to mess with me a lot, and I always gave him a warning because I would kick his ass.
Right.
Because I'm the younger brother, he's taller than me, but I've always been younger and stockier. Well, obviously younger because he's older. I've always been smaller and stockier, and I was the athlete. I'm like the true athlete. He has a little athletic, but not as much as me. So like when I was a kid, he messed with me to the point that I'd start going, and when I started doing that, like clockwork, he'd take off because he knew like 3 more seconds of me doing it, I was clocking him or taking him down or something. And the one time I didn't give him a warning, I hit him with I was playing. It was in like an X-Men McDonald's toy, and it had like a spin wheel on it. And it was a girl in a yellow jacket. I forget her name. It wasn't Rogue. It might have been an early version of Rogue, but I don't think it was Rogue.
You mean Jubilee?
Yeah, it might have been Jubilee. So like I'm playing with it. He's pushing me into this door. Now this door where we live led to a flight of stairs to our front
Right.
door. So he's pushing me in this door. He's pushing me in this door, and I just didn't give him a warning. I had the car in my hand. I forgot I had it in my hand. I just went, gave him a black eye. He starts crying. My mom comes out. He gets sent to bed, and I get to stay up a little longer because he was messing with me. It's great. Sometimes being the youngest is great, but sometimes it's the worst too.
No, I understand. I'm the oldest, so I had to always mind my P's and Q's.
I being the youngest was the worst because they set the precedent, especially when you go to like the same classes and stuff. And yeah, so like the teachers get a bad rap if your brother or sister have a bad rap.
Well, that's all the questions I do have for you. So the last thing I do have to ask is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
So I am on Facebook. Obviously, just search Dave Dahl. There is 2 profiles on there. If you add the one with a picture of me and a baby, I will not accept it. I don't really use that profile. That is my personal profile. But if you accept the one with the picture of me and Retromania at my merch table being the Virgil of the game, uh, which is awesome and terrible at the same time, that one I can accept you on. Or you can go like the Daredevil Dave Dahl page. I haven't posted on there in so long now. I really need to get on that. I have Instagram at uh, Dave_Dahl_19, I believe. And then Twitter is DD_Dave_Dahl_19. And then I also have a podcast that I do. It's fantasy booking with action figures. I have a crap ton of wrestling figures because I am a wrestling nerd. We fantasy book our own drafts. It's called the AFW Action Figure Wrestling. I represent one brand. My buddy Dylan represents another brand, and our buddy Jerry moderates. It's like a half-hour time limit for each show, and then the pay-per-views are timeless. But it's a lot of fun. You can find them on Spotify. Just search AFW or Action Figure Wrestling. We have an Instagram, but I haven't put anything up in a while because we kind of got behind on doing figurography. So, but that's at AFW_pod. So yeah, I'm a busy dude as well. It's fun. Gotta keep busy. Gotta play with toys. You know, why not?
Well, there you guys have it. You have all of his info, so you know what that means. Like every good part of a match, we got to take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring. And like I said, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. You see him right there, right next to me. He is the one I call the dangerous Daredevil Dave Dahl. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro. And then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give us a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh, at ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.